of speaking will be Pat Martin, Anita Neville, Rod Verduch, and then Denali Enns. The statistic from the 2006 census is the culture sector has about 600,000 workers, which is about double the level of employment in the forestry sector in Canada, and more than double the level of employment in Canadian banks. The question: what is your party's stance on investment in the arts through the Canada Council for the Arts? And we'll start with Pat Martin.
Thank you, David. I think all of the speakers have touched on the Canada Council in response to other questions, but I can say that the NDP's position is we would increase the public funding to the Canada Council, although it may not be the perfect instrument for distributing public support to creators. We do recognize it as the legitimate established vehicle and mechanism. I don't quite know where Rod was coming from saying that his party supports the stable long-term funding for the arts rather than having creators have to apply to the Canada Council, because there's been no indication of that kind of commitment from its government, and certainly there's been no, both the Liberal and the NDP have committed to increasing the Canada Council. We do support the Manitoba Arts Council for doing as good and impartial a job of distributing resources to applicants, I think, as humanly possible. But again, it isn't a substitute for, people shouldn't be relying on grants and contributions if they are in the creative process, and that's where the income tax averaging that the Green Party and I spoke to, I think, is a great benefit. If you do get a windfall in one year because you went on tour and made some money, or you got a large ranch, or you had a showing and sold a bunch of your product and made $100,000 in one year, but you made $10,000 for the next 3 years, you shouldn't have been dinged at a 50% tax in that year, in that 1 year that you benefit. I think that's a good idea. The other thing, I would like to explore this further. I believe the first $50,000 that you make by creating your artistic product should be tax-free. Then you don't have to go cap in hand to anyone. You get to keep that revenue or whatever you generate from your activity. I think it's a far more egalitarian system. It's not vulnerable to any kind of politicization of the board. You don't get the arbitrary censorship that you can get by a government that meddles with the arts and tries to impose their particular artistic views on who gets grants and who doesn't. And that's what we have to protect ourselves from the Harper government, frankly. I mean, let's put our cards on the table. The arbitrary censorship and the gag laws that they've implemented along with their support for the arts is holding back the artistic community and holding back people who tell their stories the way that they see fit. So I think there's pros and cons to the Canada Council grant system. I think the commitment to it should be increased in the next budget.
Thank you. I'm sorry. We'll now move on to Anita.
Thank you very much. I think I've indicated to you in the answer to the previous question, the Liberal Party is committed to doubling support to the Canadian Council of the Arts, and we hope to do it quickly over a 4-year period. I think it will have a significant and profound impact for artists right across the country. I'm having some difficulty understanding Rod's comments about stability of funding to the arts from this government. I have here a list, and I know it's not a complete one, of 16 different programs that have been cut by this government in terms of support to the arts. So it gives me, I simply don't understand it. The $25 million fund to bring international artists to the country would be fine. It's been postponed. We just heard an announcement in the last few days that it's been postponed. But I think that money would be better spent at the present time promoting Canadian artists. Talk about the arts credit for young children, and I certainly appreciate it. I think it's important. My own children were in the arts, and the credit would have been fine. But I'm more concerned about getting arts education out to more young people, and I think it's Steve Kirby's Jazzmobile that he takes out over the summer into the inner city and takes jazz to kids who have never heard jazz before and have the opportunity to do it. That's what I think arts education is all about, and I hope that there are other models. I know that there are other models of it. Not too long ago, I was at the Manitoba Association of Women in Arts when they were having their craft day, and women from around the world were teaching others their artistic endeavors from that country. I think it's important that the arts be supported in its broadest iteration, at a high level and at the ground level, and that it be available for all children, not just those whose parents can afford
Well, thank you. Glad to speak about this one more time, if you like. Or are we going on to the next question?
Question number 2.
Okay.
Thank you, Secretary Pat. And then yes, now you. Question is, what's your party staff and investment in the arts through the Canada Council for the Arts?
Well, on Canada Council, as I indicated, our government's actually had an increase to Canada Council by about 20% since we formed government. And I think this is a significant increase, especially in light of some of the previous government's static funding to the Canada Council. We've also seen a number of other investments that have benefited the arts community, but Canada Council has expanded some of its opportunities to fund artists, and I know that both PromArt and Trade Routes was acknowledged as an issue, as something that has been removed from arts funding, but it was felt from a number of stakeholders that those weren't operating efficiently. And so part of the increase to Canada Council for the Arts was to actually promote artists abroad, and I think this expansion, having the money flow through Canada Council, has been a benefit to the entire arts community nationally. In terms of the overall funding, I think, again, I referenced stability, and it's really, I think, of primary importance to so many organizations because of the fact that we are in tough economic times. I know that when I was involved with the local film sector, we tended to rely quite heavily on corporate funding, on corporate sponsorship and donations. And of course, right now, with dollars being tight, too often corporations will choose to spend their money in other ways. They'll choose to perhaps keep more dollars within the company and limit really the amount of patronizing the arts that they allow their corporations to engage in. So I think it was that stability and that choice to maintain our levels that we did in the arts that I think has been a great benefit in these last 2 years. And I think it's that philosophy of long-term stability, which is going to be a benefit to the local community. I know here in Winnipeg, we've seen increases at the local level in a number of the arts groups, but also even in investments in the buildings throughout the city. I just referenced the Cirque Molière new theater that just opened recently. It's a wonderful new venue on Provencher. I'm sure many of you have seen. And hopefully at some point maybe we'll have this arts forum debate there, David, if you can put a call in. Thank you.